too much. I wonder if she's still here. It's quite difficult to actually see. It's very gloomy this morning, so I'm battling a little bit to kind of see exactly where we are. There she is, I can see her. You see her there, Vildy? She's straight ahead of us in a little thicket, so it's quite tough to see her, but if I shine from over here, there we go, there she is, lying in amongst the thicket. Now, I apologize for the quality of the image because it is still very, very dark, and so it's going to be a little grainy to start with, but there she lies. What a way to start our morning. So she's lying in the exact same place that I left her last night. She literally has not moved a single muscle, which is really very good news. And so what we're going to do is I'm just going to reposition myself slightly, just sort of position in a way that we can probably get a little bit better quality sort of footage, because we're right at the long end of the lens, which is going to make things a little bit more difficult for Vildy. So I'm going to try and get a little closer. Also trying to just park here because I don't want to know, I want to know if the cub is maybe around. That's why I'm just parking off for a little bit just to see what's going on. But while we work out what we're going to do and sort of try and position ourselves in somewhat of a better way, let's go across to Steve and see what his plans are going to be and whether or not he's going to go check out those angry bees at the dam cam. Thandi's little cupboard was up in the top of the trees here, which we didn't expect to see it at all. So we were looking around and thinking, where could this cub be? And it turns out it was right at the top of one of these tambuti trees. So right there, and we were trying to get you guys here before it came down, but it descended the tree. So that's where it started and went all the way down, and then has gone into the little gully and it ran off towards where Mom is. So hopefully it's going to pop up near Mom shortly and kind of make an appearance in this area. Oh, there it is, Vildy. You can see it through there. There we go. Hello, little one. What are you doing? You're busy walking around like it's stalking something. So it's going down into the bottom there. That's where the kill is. And you can see Mom, well, she's completely unperturbed by all of this. She's just watching what's going on from above. And she's at least got a nice look out there. So if the cub is playing all over the place here, she can at least be able to see it. But how cute is that little one? And it just goes to show that its climbing ability at the moment seems to be very, very good. It's in a situation where if it can climb as high as that and come down, then, well, it's doing just fine. Now, it's funny because when it's climbing, it's going up and then it comes down, not like a adult leopard would. Most adult leopards, they turn and they come down head first and they kind of control their descent using their front paws. This little one comes down a little bit more like a lion would, or like maybe something else that hasn't learned how to climb just yet, and it comes down bum first, and so it's a series of kind of falling, clawing, scrambling movements to try and get itself down, but at least it's able to get up. That's the most important thing. Once it's able to climb like this, the whole game changes completely, and the chance of survival increases exponentially. So that's really good news, and the fact that it's moving around and climbing and doing its thing is great. It means that hopefully we're going to get some incredible views of this little one up into trees and all kinds of other things. So it's going to be very cool to see what unfolds over the next little bit and see what we end up getting. Now, let's see if she calls. She might call the little cub to come up towards her. There is another vehicle that wants to come in, and so she might have a situation where she'll call it and the cub will then come and hopefully come up towards her, and we'll be in a nice place for that, because if the cub plays around with Mom and jumps on her head and does the things that she likes to do, well, then we should be able to see it perfectly, because this is the only real gap that we're going to have. If you go anywhere else, I don't think we would be able to really see her very well. So it's a situation where this is probably the best gap that we could ask for in this particular section. So hopefully the cub will come out, like I say. It's a situation where, you know, it's a little nervous of things that are going on, and particularly early in the morning. So it'll be a situation where it will try and kind of probably sit and wait for everything to quieten down, and then it will start coming out towards Mom. Hopefully that's the case anyway. Otherwise it's down on the bottom there feeding on the carcass that's in the little drainage. We saw Thandi go in there yesterday. It's almost impossible to see her when she was down there. So it's a situation, if the cub is down there feeding, unfortunately we won't really be able to see a single thing. We'll have to wait for it to come back up and go towards where Mom is, or to go somewhere in this general vicinity, that we would be able to then spot it from there. But it's not an easy place, this. It's not like her previous dens that were nice and open and we could see very nicely. This is quite a difficult spot, and I suppose it's good for a cub because there's lots of places it can hide, but for us it makes life a little tricky. This is, like I say, the only window really to where she's lying that you can actually see, and even then you can see there's a few little branches off to the left there that obscure her face slightly. But it was super cool to see the little one come descending out of the tree as quick as it did. Maybe the rosettes will expand with the leopard, yes. So when they are tiny, the rosettes are far more compacted on the coat, and then as they grow, so that the coat then just starts to get bigger, and the rosettes then stretch out a little bit and become much larger. So if you look at that little cub, she appears much darker than what Thandi does, because all of those rosettes, there it is, look, there's the little one. It's just coming out now, look. It's coming straight to Mom. There we go, look how cute it is. So you can see, look at its rosettes, they're tiny in comparison to Mom's rosettes. They're not nearly as big, and so as it grows, so the rosettes will stretch out a little bit and get bigger and bigger. And then it will look a lot more like its Mom. And a little one. You see, it's just squeaking to Mom and saying, Mom, I want to suckle. Please can you make a plan? How cute is that? Now, Mom's little tail is starting to go because sometimes moms can be a bit grumpy. If they've spent a lot of time with their cub, then the cub, particularly when it's a single cub, can be a very boisterous character. And we know that this one is boisterous. It likes to run around all over the place and do its thing. But you see, it wants milk, so there we go. It's going to tuck in. And Mom's like, not this morning. I don't want you to suckle yet. There goes the little one back down. I wonder if she's stopping it from suckling, trying to force it into going and feeding off that carcass instead of using milk. You know, she needs to start weaning it and starting to get it onto meat, and so maybe that's why she's stopping it, is to try and sort of get it to the point where it gets hungry enough that it'll go and investigate the meat and try and then, you know, feed off that and start chewing on it. It's still a little bit small to be that harsh with it, but, you know, moms are moms, and I suppose they've got to do what they need to do. How cute is that little face, though? Hello, good morning. I think we're going to try again. Oh, there's the sweetest little thing, that. It's pity there's a bush behind it. You can see she's a little on the grumpy side, with probably both cub and the fact that we're here as well. So it's two different things, but you can see her tail's going. So hopefully she just behaves herself and doesn't... Okay, Thandi. Okay. Well, it is very, very cute, and I don't think there's anybody out here that doesn't enjoy this little cub and want to see it all the time. So at the moment it's gone back after Thandi decided to get up and come and greet everybody. She's now, the little cub is down a little into the sort of gully, and it's around because I can hear her talking to it, and so it's still somewhere where she can see it. But Thandi is a very funny animal. She makes me laugh sometimes because she kind of comes out and she's got this fire in her eyes, gets to the front of the car and then just stops and looks at us as though, what are you guys doing here? And then once she's kind of seen us, she then started grooming herself and sort of sauntered back to where she started and just flopped down with her back to us as though she doesn't really care anymore. So it's a very interesting sort of way that she goes about things, and she's a funny cat because everything's fine, and then all of a sudden, you know, if the cub just moves in the wrong way or goes to the wrong place, I think she then kind of gets a little bit sort of wary of things and then starts to get a little bit more aggressive about life. But it's a good trait to have, even though it seems like it's difficult to work around her and to kind of feel like you're not impacting her. She has that for a reason. She's doing these things to make sure that her cub is safe, and so it's an perfect instinct to have, and it means that I feel very sorry for any hyena that comes anywhere near this little cub, because if Mom is around, it's going to be met with some serious fire, and even male leopards, they're going to have a tough time if they come near a cub. So it's good that she is the way that she is, and I personally think it adds just a bit of character to her, and it's one of the reasons why I really like her, is because she's just so feisty, and she's never shy to let anybody know how she feels and where her sort of proximity and distance that she needs is. So I thoroughly enjoy being around Thandi. It also keeps you on your toes a little bit. You got to kind of be a lot more careful and a lot more calculating as to where you park and what you do and how you present yourself towards her in a vehicle. what's interesting to me is that, I've spoken to Herbie, and Herbie said when he tracked her during the day yesterday, he was looking for tracks for her, and he was saying that on foot, she's a very different cat to on the vehicles. She's far more aggressive to the vehicles than she is to people on foot. But I'm not sure if I agree with it, because like I say, I've had a situation where some of the trackers down to the south of us on Chitwa have been chased by her, and she's put a few trackers into bushes and growled and hissed at them and all kinds of other things. So she's still a cat that you need to have a little bit more respect. But it's interesting that her reaction to people on foot is far less abrasive than to vehicles sometimes. I wonder if maybe she hasn't had a bad experience with a vehicle at some point somewhere along the line. Could be the case where somebody has chased her or something like that, and that's why she sometimes negatively reacts. In this case, though, I suppose it's more a situation that she's just trying to protect her little one and make sure that that little one is nice and safe. But it astounds me, from being sort of a bit growly to now with her back to us, it's very, very funny to me. Patrick, you want to know how high the little one can climb at 3 months old? Well, as high as it wants to climb now. It pretty much can go into anything. That Tamboti tree that we were talking about, I would say, is probably, what do you reckon, Buldy? 8 meters? Huh? Maybe 7 or 8 meters to the top there. So it's quite a tall tree. It's not very small at all. And that little cub didn't look as though it was in any way perturbed by being up there. So I would imagine it can go as tall as any of these trees. The nice thing about the little cub is that it can go into places where there's very small branches, and that's going to help it that if there was ever a situation that maybe a male leopard came, that little cub could theoretically get itself into a place where even a male leopard won't be able to get to it. So if it can get up into a thin little small branch, lions and leopards are not going to be a threat. And obviously, now that it can climb, hyenas become far less of a threat to it than they were when it was still kind of in those first 3 months of. Good morning to you too, Ralph. I hope that you have a wonderful day up in the plains of East Africa. And so, yes, we do still have Thandi. She just chased a duiker, so she's now running back towards the den site, but she's chasing duikers all over the place here. I don't know what she's up to, but she's busy with something or other, and so she's kind of running back and forth. And like I said, there was 2 duikers that exploded out of this bush that she sort of saw from far and went running after, and it just shows how opportunistic they can be when they want to. So I'm just going to leave her to just kind of run. I'll go back down onto the road and see where she goes from there. But she's definitely moving a lot more than I thought she would. She's now going back, I think, just to make sure that she checks on the cub to see if the cub's okay. I think it's a situation where she kind of ran further than she probably thought she would, and maybe she just saw an opportunity to try and hunt. And typical leopard behavior, as she sees that opportunity to try and hunt, she kind of goes after it, and then she realizes, oopsie, hang on, I've got to go get back a little bit and see what's going on. But I see she's just up on a fallen over stump here, so we're going to give her a bit of distance and just see how she does. I think she's just coming to check on the cub itself. There she goes. You can see her. She's just moving in through those thickets. So she's going straight back to where that carcass is. That's where the carcass was put yesterday, somewhere in that thicket there. And let's see how she meanders on. I think she's going to go down into the little dip, and it's going to become very, very difficult to see her from there. So there she goes. Just going to try and move forward so that Tax can still see as well, because Tax is behind us. So, I do apologize. Let's just move quickly. So I'll try and position myself so that Tax can have a view as well as us, and then we don't have to worry too much, because Tax actually managed to spot her because she was running so far from where the den was that he saw her moving off in that area. So, Vildi, I know it's not a good view, but it's just straight through on that thicket is where it is. So, like I said, Tax was just kind of meandering down Rebecca's, and Thandi came flying past her, and so he was the one that actually saw her. That's why we're just giving Tax a bit of space to have a look. Ultimately, we have to help each other out here, and with Thandi, these things happen. And so what we're going to do is just probably try and sit here and let Tax go closer to her. We're going to allow her to get close to the cub, and we don't really want to have a situation where we've got 2 vehicles around the cub too much, so we're going to try and limit that as much as possible. Right, well, we probably will back off for a little bit. We'll come back when Tax is done, and while we do that, let's go across to Steve, who's still on a walk, and I wonder where he is and what he's up to now. Now, what's she picked up there? So she picked up the head of something. Oopsie. It is a leopard palooza this morning. Now, you may think that we are looking at a branch and some leaves, but as you can see, there emerges a tiny little cub, and behind it is mom. So they are both there, but the camouflage on these two is just absolutely incredible. If you didn't know and you drove past here, you would have absolutely no idea that there is a mother and her cub right there, and it's really something phenomenal to see their camouflage. Now, I am going to reposition a little bit better, but we just wanted to show you just how well these two do blend in this area. Now, the little one is playing all over the place by the looks of things, so I want to try and just get a loop around so that we're in a situation where we can see both of them nicely, but not be too close. So I want to just go around this way, which hopefully will get me to where I want to be. Let's see, if we go this way, we should actually be able to get a really nice view of the two of them. But how cool a morning have we had? It's awesome to have both the sisters around. You know, it's such a nice thing when you've got so much history, and particularly with Karula, and especially now that, you know, she disappeared. It kind of, I think a lot of people felt fairly down about the whole situation, but the fact that both her daughters have moved back into this area have really kind of helped with everything. Now, we've got such a beautiful view from here of Thandi. Now, the little cub is in the tree, I think, because Thandi's looking up into the tree. Is it in the tree? I don't know, but she's looking up into the tree. Maybe it's not. Maybe there's a bird up there. But it wouldn't surprise me if this little cub is in the tree. It's being very boisterous this morning and is up and down and all over the place. And so I wouldn't be at all surprised. But it's so cool to see the two of them together. No, don't go that way now, because now she's going back behind a bush and a thicket. It would be nice if she stays there. Maybe she's going to go up the tree with the cub. That would be even better. Imagine the two of them playing. I remember watching Salesh and Tiani have a big game the one day, going up and down a guarri bush, and it was amazing to watch. Salesh was teaching Tiani how to climb, and she used to go up the guarri bush, and then she'd call her, and she'd make these soft contact calls, and she would make Tiani come to the top, and as Tiani would get to her, she would jump out the tree, and then Tiani would be looking, what do I do now? And then she would go back to the tree, and then she'd come back down again, back to the tree, back down again. It was really very cool to see. And then she goes back up towards where she was started the morning. So she's moving around quite a bit with this little one this morning, and you can see it's dense thickets, and that's okay. It's good to kind of, there they go, they're moving through straight ahead of me. It's just in very thick bush, so we're just kind of seeing these tail flicks every now and then, but it's so cool to see. First lady wondering why leopards have such large whiskers. Well, whiskers form a sensory part of a leopard's life, and so you'll have a situation where they use obviously their eyes, their ears, and their noses, but at night, in particular, when it's very dark, and they are down in the grass, and they are busy stalking, and they're trying to hunt various animals, you know, sometimes their heads are right down in the grass, and they're trying to stop themselves from being seen, and so those whiskers will be able to pick up any vibrations that could be around due to antelopes moving through the ground and flicking of grass and those kind of things. So it just helps to pick up those kind of things and helps them to feel their way sometimes through the dark when they're busy focused on a prey item. Those whiskers will tell them, okay, there's a bush around you need to be careful, you need to slink through here, while they're still focused on them. So it's more just to sense their environment, much like eyes, ears, and noses would be. And the bigger those are, obviously the more sensory they can be. Well, we don't just have one leopard, Rolf, we have two. So the little one is absolutely bounding around everywhere. It is being a hooligan. It is running from side to side over the top. You can see bushes are moving all over the place as it's jumping. It's playing with leaves. There we go. Look at that little one messing around there. It keeps running and jumping on Thandi's head as well. And she just kind of, Thandi gets hit in the face as though, you know, there's, she doesn't know what hit her. It's quite funny. There it goes, bounding along. Off to mom now. Is that not the coolest thing to watch? Such youthful exuberance. And I promise you, it just goes back and forth. Now, we got to wait for it, because I'm hoping that it's going to do what it did just now, which was run out of that left-hand side of frame and literally jump straight onto Thandi's face, back legs around her chin and front legs around her ears, and then just latch on for a second. There we go. What are you doing, little one? You are so naughty. And off it goes again. It's really on its own mission this morning. It literally is running around, like I say, like a hooligan. It's all over the place. It's up and down, and It's funny to watch because you just kind of see Thandi and she's kind of got her tail flicking every now and then, which is almost like a little bait to this little cub. As soon as she sees the tail flick, then she comes running towards her and jumps on her. But Thandi's still giving us a little bit of a look shame. I think she's a little unsettled this morning, so if she moves again, we're definitely not going to follow her one more time. We're going to leave her where she is and just let her at least have a bit of a break this morning. So, but it is funny. I think the little cub is probably agitating her more than anything, just because it comes flying from nowhere and literally, like I said, jumps all over her and rugby tackles her face, and kind of it's very funny to watch. And you don't see much because of how thick it is. All you just see is this blur and this little white tail going up and down all over the place here. So very cool to watch, and I'm glad that we got to spend some time with Thandi and her cub. And as Viam was telling me now, we have to build trust between her and the cub, and so parking off a little bit further and you know, letting this little cub play like this with us around is super important for us later in life. Ooh, Nikki, if I was a leopard cub, which leopardess would I like to have as my mom? Ooh, currently or any leopard? Nikki, what do you reckon? If it's currently, then I think at the moment in this area, I would want Thandi for sure, because, well, she kills a lot. She's never really looks in bad condition. She typically has always got food somewhere close by. She's very, very good at protecting her little one, and she, you know, oh, there's the tail. The tail's been hit, and she makes sure that she looks after things and that she's constantly, you know, on the lookout for any potential danger that might come around for this little cub. So she's an incredibly good mom from that, and her record in terms of being a mother is very good. You know, she hasn't lost too many cubs. Yes, she's lost cubs from every single litter, but she's still managed to raise a cub from all of the litters that she's produced as far as we know. So she's done really well in that regard, and so she seems to have gotten her mom's genes. In terms of if you could choose any leopard, well, Karula would be the obvious choice, just from a point of view that for some reason Karula knew exactly how to raise cubs. She knew where the best places were. She knew what was the right place to make sure that her cubs were safe. She provided food for them, so, you know, and her track record speaks for itself. So those would be the two that I would say. Also Scotia, which is a female down right in the south of the Sabi Sands, also a very good mom that's down there. So, you know, one of those would be my kind of, I think, if I wanted to have a leopard mom, that was who I would have out of the characters that we know. But look at this little one. Hopefully Kuchava's inherited the same motherly instincts as Thandi and her grandmother Karula, because that'll be nice if, like I say, we've got little bounding balls of fluff from Kuchava as well. Right, well, we're going to sit here and watch our spots, blurry spots, running around in between all of these tambuatis and having a great time. It really is wonderful just to watch it play and move around and do its thing. And so while we enjoy these spots, let's send you all the way across to Brent, who's got some spots of his own, but not nearly as pretty. Well, unfortunately, it seems the gremlins are attacking my co-workers at a rapid rate. Now, you can see Thandi is really fast asleep. The little cub has just been suckling. It's just to the right of where Thandi's back leg is at the moment. It's very difficult to make it out. A little bit more right for me, Vim, I think. There somewhere is a few spots that are behind. I don't know if that's the cub or if it's her leg. It looks like it's a little far from where she is, although I don't know. It's difficult to say. They're in a very awkward place for us to be able to see too much. And the good news about it all, though, my favorite part about this is that Thandi is sleeping. So she's at least relaxed enough to fall asleep now with us, which is really good news. So it means that we've gotten to that point where she's trusting of the fact that we're not doing anything untoward to her, and so she starts to sleep like this. It's only getting better then from there. It means that she's slowly starting to accept us around the little one and not worry too much. And even now that I'm talking, that she hasn't sat up and looked this way is a very good sign. But she's found herself a perfect spot to nap. She's kind of got a little pillow there. If you see, the bank goes up slightly, and she can put her head on that, and she can then take a break. It's been probably a very busy night and morning for her. The little one has been running around all over the place. She's chased a duiker. She's been back to the cub. She's, you know, been on the lookout for things. And so it's tiring being a mom, and she's now just going to catch 40 winks quickly, and at least, like I say, that she's comfortable enough to do it with us is the best part about that whole thing. Right, now our leopard is very, very sleepy and taking it nice and easy. The little cub, I think, is quite sleepy too. So we'll be patient and see. Maybe we'll get one last view of that cub before the end of our morning. But while we do that, I believe Ralph's leopard is far more active and is up and moving. And hopefully we'll be able to get an idea on who it is now. I do indeed. You can see not much has changed here. Although, hello Thandi, did you forget we were here, girl? I think she forgot that we were sitting here, and now when I started speaking, she just remembered that we were here. Sorry, my girl, did I wake you up? I'm sorry. And you can see she's just looking at us. Are you sleepy? Shame. I think the cub is somewhere there as well. I saw a bit of movement just now. I can't see exactly where, but there was a bit of movement lying around over there. So I don't know where it's gone from there, but she's just woken up. Like I said, I think she got a fright. She forgot that we were even here. Liam and I have been sitting quite quietly. We've been discussing cars, funnily enough. And so we've been sort of whispering to each other because we didn't want to disturb her. And I think she just got a little bit of a fright as we started speaking, but she's super chilled now, which is fantastic. It's the best thing, and like I said, this is what I've wanted with this cub and her for quite some time, is to spend a bit of time to the point where she starts to rest and relax like she's doing now. And it's important for going forward with this cub that we get into a situation where we spend long periods and she gets relaxed enough with us, and that the cub realizes that we move around but we're not really a threat in any way. So this morning's sighting is, while it's kind of been a difficult one in that the views of her and the cub have been compromised a few times by thickets, it's been a great one in terms of us getting more trust out of Thandi and the fact that she realizes that we're not a threat to her or her little cub, which is very, very important going forward. So happy days for both VM and I, and well, it's just spending time with Thandi has been fantastic. I've thoroughly enjoyed my last two drives and just kind of relaxing with her and watching her go about things. She actually is a really good mother. She's very attentive to what goes on around her. She constantly is listening. She keeps putting up her head at the slightest sound. If she hears a francolin or she hears a squirrel, she's up and she's looking and making sure that she's on top of her game and doesn't get caught unawares by things like lions and hyenas and other leopards. So it's really good to see, and hopefully she'll continue to be a good mother for this little one, and we'll be able to watch it develop into an adult leopardess at some point into this system. It's also great that she's got a female. It means that between sort of her and Shadow, there's another 2 girls that will be around, which is always fantastic news, because the more girls we have, the better it is for us. At the end of the day, that means that most of them will stick around and be somewhat in this area. I know, Shangile, we had high hopes that she would be around, and unfortunately still nothing on her. For those of you that have wondered about what's been going on, there's been absolutely no word, and quite frankly, I think it's going to be a very similar situation to Karula in that she's just disappeared, and whether we find out what happened to her is debatable. I highly doubt we'll be able to know where she went or what happened and how it kind of went down. So hopefully she does pop up magically somewhere in the Kruger, little Shongile, but it would have been nice for her to stay. But at least, like I say, we've still got the same lineage continuing the bloodline on Djuma, and the form of her 2 oldest daughters, and the fact that both of them have daughters now is always fantastic. So it's still the same lineage. Now, sorry, Louise, if you can just repeat the question. I got the name. So Rictus, I just heard something about a female leopard, but I didn't get the whole question. Does it favor the local leopard population that Thandi's cub is a female? So Rick, yes, it does. Generally what we find with female leopards is that they will generally hang around very close to the natal territory of their mother. So they normally are on the fringes of where their mother's territory was. Obviously, in a situation like Karula, when she disappeared, Shongile tried to hang on in the area that her mom had previously dominated because she was still so little. Unfortunately, the 2 older sisters have been eyeing out this territory, and I'm sure they were just waiting for their mom to leave, and they then came in. But normally what you find is that a female will give a section of her territory, and Thandi's a great case for this, because we know that Thandi was dominant from when she first had her first cub, which was Wabayiza. That cub was born in front of Nkoro Lodge in the drainage line there called the Rupapi, and then from there she slowly but surely shifted east with each cub, and her last cub, Tamba, was born on Chitwa, yet now we're seeing that she's on Djuma, and she's sectioned off a little piece for Kuchava, and Kuchava is now on that Cheetah Plains and Nets Chitwa area, and so she's kind of given her cub a start in life and then shifted her territory slightly. And often what we see with the older females is that their territory shrinks as their female offspring start to be born and take over around her, and so you get that situation. So it's very good for us if there's females, because females obviously then stick around, and all the work that we're doing in trying to relax this cub means that hopefully it will stay in the area and we'll be able to see it. And on top of that, it means that they can then be producing more cubs in their own right. What you don't want is a situation where it's all male cubs, because then it's a struggle to think about where you're going to start seeing females coming from, because females inherently don't move nearly as much as what the males do. So having a lot of female cubs around is very favorable for our leopard population and very good news for us. And that's why we get very excited when we see little females being born, because it generally means we're going to get a little bit more of a spike in our leopard population. Right, our beautiful spotted cat is having a good nap now. I believe Steve, who's not napping and is walking, has found one of the most beautiful flowers that we get out here in the Sabi Sands.